Hi, welcome to a quick command line tour of AIStore. If you want to deploy a local cluster, you can run make deploy. It'll then ask you some various details about what you want your cluster to look like. For this time, I'll go with 5 storage targets, 5 proxies, and 5 simulated mount paths for each target. We can also decide whether or not we want to build support for cloud providers. For the demo, I'm not going to add anything. I'm also not going to add any loopback mount points. We can also build the command line interface by running make CLI and then source this file to gain auto-completion. There's also a script we have in our deployment folder that kind of does all of this in one step. Now that we have a cluster deployed, we can take a closer look at the actual command line. Something to note is that this was filmed at version 3.4 and things might change slightly as we make more releases. The first top-level command we'll take a look at is AIScluster command. This command will let you manage and view various information about the cluster. Some commands you'll use less often are the attach and detach commands, which will let you configure remote clusters, set primary, which will let you manually set a new primary proxy, shutdown, which safely shuts down all nodes in the cluster, and also AIScluster rebalance. One command you'll use often though is AIScluster configure. This lets you set certain configurations through the whole cluster. For example, we can change the cluster-wide checksum to be SHA-256. We can also view the cluster by running AIS-show config and specifying checksum will only show us the checksum configurations. You can see now that we're using SHA-256. Another common command you'll use with the cluster is membership. This will let you manage various membership aspects of the cluster, such as adding new nodes, permanently removing a node, and marking nodes in maintenance. Next is the AISbucket command. We can create a bucket using AISbucket create. We can view certain properties about our bucket. We can also set properties using bucket props. In this case, let's enable erasure coding. From the previous command, we can see that it is disabled. We can also view objects inside the bucket using AISbucketLS. This is alias to AISLS for ease of use, so we can also just say AISLS. Running AISLS without specifying a bucket shows us all the buckets we have in our cluster. There are also some other commands you'll use, such as move and rm. These copy, move, and remove AISbuckets. AISbucket evict evicts objects and buckets that are prefetched from cloud buckets. There's also AISbucket summary, which shows us some more details about the objects inside our buckets. Now that we've covered buckets, we can cover objects. You'll find some familiar subcommands here, such as move and remove. The most frequently used commands with this are get and put. We can put an object by running AISobjectPut, specify a file name and a bucket you'd like to place your object in. Running AISLS on the bucket can now show us that the file is uploaded. We can also get the object by specifying the bucket and the object name. We can also view properties with object show. There are also some other commands such as cat, which prints the object directly to the terminal, concat, which concatenates multiple files into a new object, and also promote, which can promote files that are in your cluster on disk into objects. Another command you'll use often is a job command. With this, we can start, stop, and wait on certain jobs, or also just view their progress. Certain jobs are startable, such as prefetching objects, using the download and distributed sort features of AIStore, or starting to mirror or erasure code a bucket. We can also start a cluster-wide rebalance. We can view the progress of certain jobs using AISjobShow. Often a command you run will tell you to monitor the progress of the job it started. by running ACE job show X action. With this, you can view the progress of jobs based on its type or an ID. For the purpose of this demo, I'll just show you all the X actions that have run in my cluster. We can see their start and end time, the kind of X action they were, and their ID. We've covered most of the popular commands. There are some other commands such as ACTL, which is used to manage extract, transform, load operations. There's also AISauth, which is used to manage the authentication server. And also, most importantly, AISshow. You might recognize some top-level commands in here, such as object, cluster, and bucket. These are shortcuts. What that means is running AISshow cluster is the same as running ACE cluster show. There are some other commands that we might need to use, such as AISshow disk, which shows you all the disks in your cluster, and others like AISshow remote cluster and config. Be sure to look at GitHub for more documentation. Thanks.